Welcome to the Oreaganic Podcast. I'm your host, Reagan, mechanical engineer, lifelong athlete, and recovered overachiever, here to empower you to pursue your highest potential and live freely as your happiest, most organic self. Every week, we'll dive into topics ranging from personal growth, mindset hacks, psychology, and a blend of science and spirituality to give you all the tools you need to stop living on autopilot and start creating a life of freedom, meaning, and fulfillment as your most organic self. If you're ready to become the best version of yourself, then let's plant those seeds and grow. Hello world, welcome to the Oreaganic Podcast. Oh, I'm so excited to be starting this, guys. My name is Reagan. If you have been following along with my journey on social media since the very beginning, either on my Instagram or my YouTube or way back in the day, my Snapchat stories, I'm so glad to have you here. And you guys know I've been talking about a podcast for legitimately months at this point, and here I am finally starting it. In complete transparency, I've had bulk parts of this episode recorded since legitimately February, but it just has not felt like the right time to share my story and really start flinging myself into this process yet. But now I'm just really feeling so called to share my voice and start messy, even if everything's not perfect, even if I don't have this incredible intro song and everything's all nice and polished and put together. The whole point of this podcast is to share my voice, share my experience, and help you guys get to a place in your life where you feel like you are living as your most organic, ideal self. So, with all that said, if you're new here, if you're tuning in for the first time, so happy to have you. Thank you for spending time listening to what is currently a stranger, aka me, but hopefully by the end of this episode, you'll feel like you get to know me a little bit better. I wanted to just use this episode as the intro of my story, my background from my childhood into high school, into college, and after, and just how I got where I am today, so that you guys actually get a chance to know me a little more as your host, and gonna go from there for the future episodes. I also want to preface, I'm deeply sorry if it sounds breathy at any points. Like, I'm still figuring out the mic. I don't know if I'm going to keep this one. It's not perfect, so please bear with me and just know it's going to get better in future episodes. So if your ears feel assaulted at any point, my most sincere apologies. Moving forward. Starting from the very beginning, let me just paint you guys a picture of young Reagan. I'm actually looking at a picture of my younger self right now. Just in case you guys are wondering, I'm recording these episodes literally in a storage closet in my house. Very impromptu setup. I'm not kidding. We're starting from the bare baseline. But anyways, me as a child, I can only describe myself as a ball of restless energy. I have always been hyperactive. My mom called me Miss Motion from when I was literally like 2 years old. I have never stopped moving. I played soccer since I was 5. I have always been someone who wanted to just do everything, even, especially as I got older, when more extracurriculars became available and I could do band and I have school and have sports and everything. I never wanted to choose between doing one thing or another. I always just wanted to do both. Being a really active kid led into me also being really active in high school, especially. I was a 3-sport athlete. I played soccer, indoor track, lacrosse. I took all honors and AP classes, and I also was in band, which included marching band because I had to, and jazz band because I wanted to. So essentially my extracurriculars were always jam-fucking-packed. I was a busy bee, and honestly, I took pride in it. It was part of my identity to always have so much going on. It was part of my identity to be successful in doing all of these things. And I found, a lot of fulfillment from participating in these activities because, like I said, I don't choose between doing things. I try to just do them all. That is very much so my nature. It's even going to be this nature with the podcast. Yes, my general topic is probably going to be more health and wellness. However, I don't want to choose as much of a specific niche. I don't think that anyone needs to really niche down too hard because we're all such individual people. So why would we try to put ourselves in a box? But I digress. So high school was super busy for me. And I was always inclined to lean into that busyness and lean into that identity of I'm just always so busy and I'm just doing so much. Oh my gosh, how do you handle doing all of that stuff? It was crazy. And again, I wouldn't have wanted to sacrifice what I was doing, but I also knew especially, after years of doing the same type of thing, having a lot of days where it looked like waking up at 6 or 6:30, go to school, go to sports, go to band, get home at 8:30 or 9, eat, do your homework, go to sleep, get like 6 hours of sleep, wake up the next day, kind of do the same thing all over again. I had very minimal time to actually be with myself and rest and recharge. It was always very packed. Even my weekends were always filled with soccer, either premier soccer or just so many things. I was always so busy. And that, I will tell you right now, it takes a toll. It takes a big toll on you. And for me, it made me live in a state where I felt really disconnected from myself. And I knew this too, because as much as I was in kind of a stress addicted state and just used to being so busy and, really embracing it, I also knew that something was off. And this really was especially clear in senior year. I remember I was a senior and I would just be laying in my bedroom it sounds so emo, playing Empty by Juice WRLD, because I was like just so numbed out. I just felt so numb to my emotions. I felt like it was as if I loved doing everything that I was doing. I did get fulfillment from it. I did enjoy it. And at the same time, I felt like I didn't really care about anything. It was a really weird type of push and pull. And especially because my identity was so tied to how much I was doing, I was like going all out to just always be doing so much and so stressed out. But then if that's your identity, just being so busy that you're disconnected from yourself, then how the hell are you supposed to find your way back to who you even are as a person? It was a very, very disconnected time for me. I also want to add that as much as I say I was disconnected from myself, because it wasn't like I was super depressed or miserable or like I was so clearly just in demise of being unwell. It wasn't that. It was more of an internal subconscious knowing that like I was not fully aligned with myself. You know what I mean? Like something felt off. It felt weird, but I still had a good time doing all of my extracurriculars. I had a good time at school. Like I was not like a miserable shell of a human being kind of person in that way. It was more when I would have time alone, just in my own space, in my own head. I was just like, what the fuck is going on? Like, I can't even, it was sitting alone with my thoughts that had me like in shambles. And I just wanted to add that so that anyone listening who knows me and like knew me back in that time, I don't want you guys to think that I was just putting up this front of being like all happy joy and then actually being miserable, because that really wasn't the case. So I hope that's clear with my story, and I just really wanted to make that abundantly clear moving forward. I don't want to go too much in detail about COVID. I think we all know it was fucking horrible. It was especially horrible for 2020 seniors like me. That was fucking dog shit. And I think it is an overachiever's worst nightmare to be doing. I worked my ass off, as did many other students across the country, across the world, for 4 years in high school, in sports, in band, in school. And, I was rewarded for it. I got awards in sports, in school, in band. The two biggest athletic awards in my school I got. And what did I get for it? A Facebook post. A lovely little Facebook post. It was absolutely delightful. Probably the highlight of my life so far. And by that, I mean it was fucking awful. If you can't tell already, I'm really sarcastic. You guys will get to know me more in these episodes, just the way that I talk about things, but I am fluent in sarcasm, as people love to say. Anywho, that was really fucking bad. And it led me to a bit of an identity crisis when so much of my identity and so much of my self-worth was based in how well I did my extracurriculars and my achievements. And for them to be rewarded with what was essentially nothing in comparison to, what every single class, both before and after us, got, it was jarring, to say the least. It was pretty bad, and I understand there are way worse problems to be had in the world at this time. But for me, and just, it was a really bad time for me. Mentally, it was just, I think we can all agree, it was just not pretty. That definitely did not help me in terms of my stress and also just like my identity in general and how connected to myself I was. I was just in shambles a bit. especially after that time. I mean, my graduation was a 10-minute drive-through, like a literal drive-through, like a McDonald's drive-through, walk across the stage. Oh my God, like, ew, I'm just having flashbacks to it. It was so bad. It was so bad. We didn't get a senior prom. There's no, like, yearbook signing, big events or anything. It was just, every single person who's gone through, 12 years of public school or private school or whatever, like, it's crazy to know people that you've gone to school with since you were 5 years old, right? And you might not be super close with them, but you have this sense of community going through so much with the same group of people in your class, and it leaves a very big hole for probably a lot of people to have that taken away from them so suddenly. It's jarring. There was no closure. It was awful. Again, I didn't want to rant too much on it, but it was awful. And even better, not only was the best part of high school and the time in senior year where we could, reap the rewards of our efforts, we also had freshman year of college essentially fucking shanked. So my freshman year of college looked not like a bunch of being social and meeting people and moving out of my house for the first time and having this crazy, fun, social whatever. It was sitting at my desk in my house and not really meeting any new people and having online school for a year. It was bad. It was very bad. I'm biased, but I would argue that my class got it the worst. I think that obviously other people in my class would agree, but then again, I have grown past this. I am not in the mentality of a victim with this. It happened. I'm a better person for it. I learned from it. And it's also a part of my story that I have to honor in talking about. Another part of the identity crisis during the COVID times was the fact that I didn't have a soccer season for the first time in my entire life. Again, like I said, I played soccer since I was 5 years old. And anyone who maybe is an athlete who is already quote unquote retired from their normal playing seasons, or an athlete who plays right now and like you can relate during your off season, it is very jarring again to have a sport. You're so used to having your sport, you're so used to be able to play, just to have that taken away from you and have no other outlet or options and no team to lean back on or anything like that. That was another thing that was really bad. It was hard to get in my own rhythm of working out and not having a coach, yada, yada, yada. So this time, not ideal for me. But I did have a bit of a break to kind of recover from the burnout of high school a little bit, but still not really in a way that led me to being fully connected to myself. And that's not to say, when I said I was disconnected from myself, I don't mean that I was like eyes glazed over. I had no friends and wasn't, socially connecting with people and I was miserable or anything like that. I wasn't super depressed. It wasn't that nature. It was more the nature of knowing now what it feels like to be more connected to your emotions and what you actually want and your body, quote unquote, etc. I just was so not connected to myself in that way at all. Does that make sense? I was very much operating entirely just from my mind. Like, emotions and feeling my body and things like that were not something that was just commonplace. So I digress. Now we start college, and guess what little Reagan does? All I do is the same thing I did in high school. So I chose mechanical engineering as my degree. I almost did a computer science minor. Fuck that. If you are a computer science major, God bless your heart and soul, because it was just not like scheme. Go fuck yourself. I'm never coding in scheme ever again in my life. Anyways, so chose a major that obviously is very demanding and difficult. Any engineering is. And on top of that, I tried out for the club soccer team at UConn, which is honestly one of the best decisions I've ever made in my entire life. I would die for club soccer. Like, I would actually die for this team. And fun story, part of me almost did. I'm just kidding. I'll get into that in a little bit. But basically, I was in the same type of living in terms of having a lot of school stress and having a lot of extracurricular stress, quote unquote. I made a lot of good memories in college. I really enjoyed my time. And I lived in a very, very busy state still. So that kind of just led to more of the same in terms of burnout, in terms of not really feeling connected to myself, in terms of just being numbed out. And I also was getting sick all the time. My immune system was non-existent because I was always so stressed out, and I was always not sleeping, or I was never sleeping enough. Ask anyone from who knows how I was during that time. They'll say I was just a ball of stress and anxiety. That is literally how I was described. I was just always, oh my God, you want to know a clue as to whether or not you are a super anxious or stressed out person, and you might not even realize how bad it is? If you walk extremely fast, like not just a speed walker. I'm a speed walker in general, in terms of like my baseline state is just fast. But if you are particularly walking really fast, that is probably a sign that you are not really super balanced in terms of stress and anxiety. And oh boy, did I fucking fly around that campus. I was like an electron, like bouncing off the walls, just like just down the campus sidewalk, flying past people, going to all my classes, going to soccer, just oh my God. Just the same old little stressed out Reagan, the only Reagan that I knew how to be. So, what did I decide to do? Given the fact that I've always been inclined to leadership, I've always taken on a leadership role in all three of the sports I played in high school. I was a captain and recognized for my leadership, etc. So, what do I do? Naturally, for club soccer, I decide to run for president and captain. And I got that role. And the way that we do it at club soccer, we don't have a coach. So, since we don't have a coach, the president is responsible for all the responsibilities of a coach in terms of the more executive things. And obviously, as captain, you're responsible for working with the other two captains to figure out lineups and playing time and practices and just a whole fuckload of things. But within this time frame of me being president, I wasn't busy enough, right? I did not have enough going on. So clearly, I just needed to add the pursuit of an astrophysics minor. Because why not? Why not? Honestly, why not though? Like, I don't regret doing it. But this is, again, just my nature of I want to be doing 80,000 things at once. I don't want to have to choose. And I'm just going to do it all anyways. And, well, if it comes at the sacrifice of my mental health and well-being, then so be it. I was used to sacrificing that anyways. I didn't really care. I wanted to do it. I wanted the mind. I would also like to note that astronomy and astrophysics is not equal to astrology. Astrology is the zodiac, is the horoscopes, is the whole observational science observed over the past thousands of years of humans existing, which I think is really fascinating. But nonetheless, it's what a lot of people see as just like, oh, woo-woo star people. Whatever. Think what you want to think. Astronomy is the scientific study of the makeup of the universe and its constituents, stars, galaxies, planets, etc. It is just so completely different than astrology, and I need people to understand this difference just from the perspective of everyone else joking that it's just astrology, because I swear to God it's not. But adding this minor when I did, which was, I want to say spring of junior year, led to me having to take 6 classes that semester and the next semester. So my schedule was jam-packed loaded with literally all STEM classes in engineering and astrophysics, just to paint the picture. As we can imagine, 6 STEM classes on top of club soccer president and captain does not exactly make for a life where you can be really stress-free and just, living in your free time, actually feeling anything. It was the same exact shit as high school. But then again, college, I will say, was much better than high school in terms of, I got to make some really good memories and have new friends, and club soccer was the highlight of my experience. I cannot express how much I love club soccer. I love my team. And you know what? I would do it all over again and sacrifice my entire mental health. But yes, at the end of the fall semester, because we do our terms by calendar year, so I had it spring of junior year, fall of senior year. By the end of fall of senior year, I was unwell. As you can imagine. I knew something was wrong, too. In terms of, I knew this was not, I was just doing the same shit I'd always done. I could feel the burnout, and I could feel just this resistance to actually being able to stay on top of things and stay productive. And I was procrastinating so bad. I could not get myself to do anything early. I had this mental block. I couldn't even explain it. I was just really, really, really needing a break. And I really needed time to myself, and I was just, I think we can all understand I was not okay. Thankfully, in perfect timing, around the end of the fall semester, when I actually, came out of that and was like, wow, I'm still alive, but I'm barely breathing. That kind of slayed. But anyways, around that time, I was starting to come across some things on my lovely Instagram Reels feed, and the algorithm started showing me things about, mentality stuff and external validation and procrastination, kind of just a lot of topics within the world of personal improvement, personal development, mindset, yada, yada, yada. And I was like, you know what? I'll give these people attention, because they were spitting wisdom and they were spitting facts at me. And it also really made me uncomfortable to see some of those posts and those captions from, mentors or coaches and whatever. And let me just say before this, I always thought, instinctively, I was like, life coaching, what the fuck is that? That's not real. Like, people do that just to scam other people, and it's complete bogus. Like, it's so fake that like, who the fuck gets a life coach? Like, what is wrong with you? You're getting scammed. But I also quickly realized there was a lot of value to be had in learning from people who have been through the ringer and know a lot of things about stress, and I started to learn a lot. That was December of 2023, and January of 2024, guess what, guys? I only had 5 classes instead of 6. Oh my god, I know. I was actually a free woman, and club soccer was way more chill. I wasn't president anymore. Like, I was just floating into the end of senior year. It was great. Had my own apartment with 3 other roommates. We all had our own room. Like, I was living the life. But in living the life, actually having more time to myself and to reflect, and also coming across more and more information that kind of really just pointed out my blind spots in all of the places in my life where I was just really out of alignment and really out of balance and really, honestly, just not well. It was a bit of a shocker. So I really kind of started doing a lot more introspection, a lot more work on myself in that way, listening to so many podcasts, just doing a deep dive, learning so much, listening to things about our psychology and our human brains and why we are so resistant to change a lot of the time. And another factor that something about me, ever since I was young, I have always had this knowing and this feeling and this pull for more in my life, knowing that I'm not made to settle. I don't want to settle for just the basic structure that we're told for following one specific path. Like, I have always known that I had some bigger calling or something more than myself that was meant for me to pursue in this life. And I know that sounds crazy considering I'm saying that I knew that when I was younger, but I feel like the people who also experience this, you just know. I cannot explain it. Like, I just know, and I've always known. And I feel like even starting this podcast and starting my journey and sharing my voice and my life online and trying to help people is really just the start of me calling in this purpose and calling that I have always felt drawn to. And it just feels like the right time. And I bring this up with reference to my younger self and just the resistance to following that super basic structure and societal expectations and everything, because it actually started, I mean, I always kind of knew before this, but when I think it was 11 or 12, I had a blue iPod Touch. I got Instagram for the first time around that age, and I found the accounts that were talking about, like, you know, the classic, like, millionaire, very much bro mindset of wake up at 5 a.m. and grind, and, like, the blurry photos of mansions that people would just put text over, like, very much so just kind of meme worthy. But I did really value and resonate with the idea that there is so much more to life than just a job. And I say that as someone who truly loves my job. Like, I work a job that technically is, like, you know, work hours of 9 to 5, but it's not the 9 to 5 work structure where you have to sit in an office for the rest of your life and it's just the same thing every day. Like, my job is so perfectly aligned for me, and I never, ever, ever subscribed to thinking that we had to follow one specific path, that you just had to settle for something, even if it was just meh and it doesn't really light your soul up, but that's just kind of how things are. I have never, ever, ever agreed to thinking that's just how things are, that things can't be changed for people. And that's one of my biggest things too, is I do not want people to settle in complacency thinking that the only way that they can be successful in life and happy is to follow this path and structure that society lays out for them. Because let me just tell you, a lot of shit's outdated, and we're here to kind of make this shift and live lives that are actually aligned to us. So I've always had this kind of inner knowing, and I think now it's really just culminating in adulthood. I want to have an impact. I see how unaligned so many of us are from our natural state of being, and honestly it works out perfectly that my name just happens to fit perfectly into the word organic, because what is something that's organic, right? Obviously, no fertilizers, no chemicals, no GMOs, yada yada, but it's something in its most natural state, right? So to me, we as a society, we as a culture have normalized living in a state that is so completely out of line with this natural state of being, our healthiest and most empowered state of being. So what are some unnatural things that I've really noticed are pretty just fucked up that we just think it's completely normal? Let me tell you something right now. It is not normal to be stressed and anxious all the time. It's not normal to completely normalize an expectation of productivity, of just always doing something and being busy 24/7. It's not normal that we live in a society that is so industrialized that honestly, a lot of the shit in our food and our clothes, I mean, what the fuck isn't toxic at this point? Everyone will tell you, oh my God, we're all gonna die, everything's toxic. But living like that, living on that big of a scale in terms of society is not actually normal for how we've evolved as human beings. It's not normal to constantly need external validation from people. It is not normal to be overstimulated all the time. It is not normal to not even be aware of what is in our food or our water or what's going on our skin and how it affects us. It's not normal to be detached from your emotions. It is not normal to be completely antisocial. It's not normal to be completely inactive. There's so many things that we as a society have just normalized, and we're all just used to burnout and running on coffee, running on empty. Women are doing so much stuff, and let me just say, we've also normalized the fact that we see women and men as being two of the exact same. And let me be extremely careful with the way that I say that, because I do not mean that one is inferior to the other. We are equal as human beings, and I believe that we as a society have neglected the fact that women and men are biologically different. We have different tolerance levels in terms of our hormones, especially with stress. We as women are not meant to operate like men. We're not meant to live in the same type of ways that they are. That does not mean we're not capable of doing the same things as them. We just have to do them in a way that is more suiting to our biology. There are so many things that I just think are so fucked up. We are just so out of line. You don't even realize it. You want to know something fucked up? The grand majority of the reality that you have right now is a projection of your subconscious beliefs. And honestly, your subconscious beliefs are often programmed by someone that wasn't you, because they're programmed in the time you are 0 to 7 or 8 years old. Do you remember what everyone said to you when you were 0 to 7 or 8 years old? No, it is not your fault that those things were projected onto you. But as an adult, we're detached from the fact that it's our responsibility to turn the eye inwards and realize our thoughts. What do we even believe? Like, at our core, what do we believe? Or what have we been made to think that we have to believe? It's just, there are so many areas of life within health, your emotions, your mindset, even money and wealth and relationships or spirituality. There's just so much in our society that we are so out of line with. And I'm telling you, as someone, as you guys know now, who has lived not in alignment and not in balance and not in my most natural state of being for the grand majority of my life up until very recently. And to be fair, you can't really change this when you are kind of just a kid and growing up, or even a teenager, because there are forces bigger than you at play in terms of school and, being dependent on other people. But in adulthood, that's when you actually have the freedom, time, and ability to break free of this stuff. So what is the most aligned state for all humans to be in? And to me, that is one where we feel grounded and calm. We're not reliant on feeling stressed out day to day to feel normal. We actually remember that we are capable of anything that we put our mind to. I know it's really cliche, but you really are capable of anything you put your mind to. The only thing in the way is you. it is literally your own beliefs. Living in a state of alignment is knowing that your reality is just a projection of how you feel on the inside and what you believe is possible for you. And also, obviously, the action steps you take to put yourself in situations that get you where you want to be. But there's just so much missing from the mainstream, I feel, when it comes to knowing our own psychology, knowing how our brains work, especially in terms of, survival instinct and how that looks for us in the modern day, and just being actually connected to yourself and just feeling and not feeling like you have to be a slave to your schedule and a slave to just external circumstances or external validation. I really want to use this podcast to empower you with knowledge and wisdom and actionable steps and lessons and teachings that can help you realize that you already have within you everything you need to change your own life. And this doesn't mean it has to be a super motivational podcast of like you have to change your whole life around, but it does mean that I can give you tools and tips and lessons and wisdom that can help you live a life that is way more aligned. That doesn't mean you have to go on some spiritual journey through ancient Egypt. It doesn't mean you have to completely quit your 9-to-5 job and then start living as a nomad. It just means that if you're living super unbalanced, if you're living super unaligned and just disconnected from yourself and disconnected from like who you feel like you are at your core essence and also your desires that you may have ignored in your whole life, I'm trying to tell you guys that a new reality is possible and you are capable of so much more than you could possibly imagine. And I'm here to just remind you that, and I'm here to give you the lessons and knowledge that I needed to kind of have a kickstart and realize that I can actually hack my own brain. You can figure out your own blocks and you can get past them. You can again, create a new world for yourself that is one where you actually feel aligned, where you feel fulfilled, where you feel connected to yourself, where you feel so much more abundant, so much more free. Freedom, natural state, your most organic self. I'm trying to get you guys to remember and come back to your most organic self. As you guys know, I'm an engineer by trade. Like, I have been a logical person my entire life. And I also know that when you're going through a personal development, whatever, growth journey, spirituality seems to be a part of it for a lot of people online or a lot of mentors, and talking about things like manifestation and increasing your vibration and all that stuff. That's where a lot of people who I think have more logic-based minds start to say, tune it out and just be like, that's a bunch of garbage and woo-woo and crazy people. But in knowing that, I really feel like I'm going to be able to explain these topics to you guys in a way that does not make you think that, again, I'm just some nomad who's just living in the woods and speaking about energy and vibrations, because there actually is a lot of science behind what is seen as quote-unquote woo-woo, and I'm really excited to be able to share it in a way that is more unconventionally, not really woo-woo, but more just normal, like literally just normal. Essentially, the goal is to bridge the gap between logic and intuition. So, that's about all I have for you guys today in terms of my story, my background, where I want to go. I'm excited to connect with more of you guys. I hope that my story resonates with some of you, maybe helps you guys feel a little less alone. And I'm really excited to just put out more episodes for you guys, have some solid conversations, share everything I've learned, share the wisdom of surviving the post-grad despair, adulthood, figuring out your life type of era, and help you guys come back to being more of your most organic selves. I'll be sharing my raw, vulnerable, personal journey through everything I'm working through, everything that I've learned, everything that could help you guys move through whatever you're working through. This podcast is as much for me as it is for you guys, and I am just so grateful to have the opportunity to actually finally create this podcast and make it a real thing. With that, go be your most organic selves, and I will see you in the next one. Thank you so much for tuning into the podcast. If you got something out of today's episode, I would so deeply appreciate if you left a rating and or a review of the show on either Apple or Spotify to help put this podcast in more people's ears. Follow along with me on my socials, which are tagged below, and I will see you in the next one.